Hardly had we sat down at the facing keyboards when the listeners fell into utmost silence. I let Paisiello suggest the first theme, which consisted of a grave and implied an overture in theatrical style to follow. I responded to him with complete confidence. Through alternating answers, our ideas multiplied. We changed the tempo. I began with a new theme, as if for the second movement of the overture, which Paisiello immediately took up and developed further. In short, we improvised for almost half an hour and concluded with a fortissimo and with chords with contratempi, as Paisiello often does in his theatrical works. We both enjoyed the performance of our improvisation with such satisfaction that at the end we paid no attention to the audience, but instead gazed at one another in astonishment, as if wanting to thank one another for the pleasure. Hello, welcome to the Scroll Ensemble Classical Music Improvisation channel. I'm Robert. The letter you just heard was written by Norbert Hadrava in 1789, and he was an Austrian diplomat and amateur musician. The meeting described was organized to introduce Paisiello to the vis-à-vis flügel built by Johann Andreas Stein. Paisiello was one of the most famous opera composers of the time and was also part of the Partimento school. The vis-à-vis flügel was a new invention and could be played as a harpsichord, or as a fortepiano, or combining both, and also had two keyboards on either side of the instrument, so it could be played by two performers at the same time. First, Hadrava showed the instrument's different possibilities with his own solo keyboard sonatas. But then the audience got really curious and asked what the instrument sounded like when played by two performers simultaneously. And so Paisiello got up, obliged, and joined on the other keyboard. And then the improvisation described before ensued. Interestingly, after lunch, the duo apparently improvised together again, and this time it wasn't as successful. Now, Hadrava blames digestion, the tiredness after eating, but I actually think something else may have been in play here. If you have ever accidentally improvised a really nice piece with someone before, or maybe, had a really nice improvised theater moment, you probably recognize this. At least for me, when something really great has happened, I want to replicate that situation, the feeling, or maybe somehow even that actual improvisation. And somehow this doesn't seem to work for improvisation. It seems to affect the flow that improvisation needs, especially in ensemble. So I guess it's probably better to let go of such expectations, or maybe of any expectations whatsoever. Finally, Hadrava writes in his letter that his biggest dream would have been to improvise on this instrument again, but now with Mozart or Kozeluch, these big stars of his time. At night, all the candles snuffed out, two creative minds will be meeting in the dark.